heard may be graphic in nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Witchcraft. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely alcohol. It's really just I love stuff like this because it's someone scared to death. Yeah, that's a real thing. Just someone scared to death. People that you shouldn't fuck with, right? And the JFK assassination all too real.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. From the Mistake on the Lake, deep within the Great American Rust Belt, I bid you all good morning, good evening, wherever you are, wherever you may be, across the nation, around the world. This is George Norrie. Welcome to... Never mind. This is T3TV. I'm your host, John Brzezinski, alongside Daniel Stephen Rady.
What is up?
And Stephen Daniel Gibson.
Wouldn't wherever you are and wherever you may be the same thing?
He says it. I don't know. I'm just ripping him off. That's so.
Take it up with George, bro.
Yeah.
I don't think I can.
Yeah. I talked to him once. I called in and told the story of remember when Mr. Was it Mr. Batusik Sr. when he died on stage?
Oof, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was crazy.
What?
Was
So-
that during... Oh, go ahead.
No, so we were in marching band and we got new uniforms that year, and this guy was like, he had to have been in his 90s, but
Wow. Okay. Teacher?
he was, what's that?
A teacher?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was like deeply involved with the school board, and he was going to direct the band for a song, and so we were playing the Washington Post. That very like, it's a pretty famous like orchestral piece. Anyway, during the like last 3/4 of the song, they were going to lower the new uniforms for next year from the rafters, and out of nowhere, like, I mean, this guy came and rehearsed with us, and like I said, he was pretty old, and he ended up falling on stage, and I think he clinically checked out for a little bit, but ended up coming back. And so I was telling a story about like how we had joked about it for, the weeks leading up to it, and then it did happen, and we were like, oh my god, like, did we curse this guy?
I've heard that name before.
Didn't he end up dying like the next week?
Yeah, he did actually pass away, but like, there was like a lot of jokes going around amongst the kids, and so before this it had happened, and then it did happen, and it was like not funny at all. So
Right.
be careful what you joke about, I guess. So yes, I have talked to George Norrie and the legendary Art Bell. Rest in peace. Rob is sitting in the fourth chair tonight. Good evening, Robert.
Hey, yo. What's up?
And tonight's brought to you by
Lambda.
yeah
We're doing just Miller Lite tonight.
yeah.
Glass
Rob-
bottles, though.
Rob is not by any means an alcoholic. This helps him on the
Drinks
show.
when he does the show.
Not an alcoholic. I just drink a whole bunch every night to solve my problems.
There you go.
That's it.
So
I just can't function without it, and, that's it.
So what's new with you guys? Anything new this week? Dan, Buddha, Rob?
Clinical depression.
Okay. Well, I think Rob has a remedy for you that he's using right now.
Yeah.
That is true. Yeah, they prescribed it.
Half a beer and Buddha will be good.
Yeah.
He'll have some weird gluten allergy and just die.
Yeah.
Oh, if only. Can I get that in a script?
Friday, we went out to get tacos again. And Dan actually, he said he was not going to eat, but he had a bowl of chili.
Well,
And he-
it was
And
it
you
was
liked
bean
it.
soup.
Oh, bean soup. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's almost the same thing.
It was actually
didn't know-
really good.
Bean soup, huh? Living through the Great Depression.
What
That
will
motherfucker
taste
cost me $10 too.
Yeah. What will taste most like Wendy's chili but cost a fortune?
Listen, I was looking at that price and I'm like, this isn't too bad. It's $5 for a little thing of soup. They charged me $6 to add
Wow.
yeah,
Should have just got
crazy.
tacos.
Yeah, I know. 2 tacos. I'll tell you that one taco they have has a hot dog on it. It's fantastic. So.
Ew.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good.
That sounds horrible.
No, it sounds
I
like
agree. It sounds nasty.
It's pretty good. So. All right. Well, how about some news?
Probably just the waiter like putting his penis in a taco.
He puts the indentation there for the wiener.
All right. Let's see here. Oh, they closed the one thing I had open here. Crap. Well, we're going to be on the fly here. All right. This one's out of NPR.org. Zombie River, London's Thames, once biologically dead, has been coming back to life. In 1858, sewage clogging the London Thames River caused a great stink. A century later, parts of the famed waterway were declared biologically dead. But the latest report on the state of Thames is surroundingly surprising, optimistic note. The river today is home to a myriad of wildlife as diverse as London itself. Andrew Terry, the director of conservation in the policy at the Zoological Society of London, writes in a foreword to the report published Wednesday. Terry points out reduction in pressures and improvements in key species and habitats. So, I mean, I know the Cuyahoga River was pretty bad at one point, caught on fire.
Yeah.
Legendary status there.
A couple times.
You know, people go kayaking and swim in it now, so I don't know. Have you ever gone swimming in it?
No, but they literally started cleaning that thing up in like the early 70s, and they just finally got it to where, you know, in the last couple of years where it's, you know, fish are living in it again, and, you know, you could swim in it, have no problems, and people, like you said, kayak in it, but it took, you know, only practically 50 years to get it cleaned up.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust swimming in there. Ooh.
There's also a report that sharks have been spotted in the Thames River as well. So interesting develop there. Let's see here. I closed all my news stories. Crap. I've got nothing.
Well, pull them back up.
Yeah.
I know. Hold on. I'm sorry.
Listen, we all know that you just pop up one page and go click, click, click and grab whatever news stories are on the headlines.
I really don't. I actually I spent about an hour and a half before the show trying to find stuff.
Well, then you should know what you looked up.
Here we go. This one's for you, Buddha. This one I pulled up here. Dutch University's rare penis plant blooms.
Why is this for me? And I saw this, actually.
I did too.
A rare flower
One that
nicknamed
stinks.
penis plant bloomed at Netherlands University of Botanical Gardens, a rare occurrence in Europe. The University of Leiden said that the penis plant, known as scientifically as Amorphalifus, whatever, blooms once every 2 decades in the University Botanical Gardens.
Sounds like my penis.
Blooms once every 2 decades. So,
Doesn't it smell like a decomposing body?
No, that's the one.
You're also thinking of Rob's as well.
Yes. No,
That's
Dan,
the
I know what
vagina
you're talking
flower.
about. They have one at the zoo, or they have a
Yeah,
statue
yeah.
of it at the zoo. It's not that.
Oh,
And the
okay.
statue stinks like a decomposing body.
No, it just says it's got like info on it.
I was going to say 3. All right. The school said that it's rare Indonesian native plants to bloom in Europe due to the vastly different climate and weather conditions. The plant that bloomed this month is 6 years old, and researchers noticed that it was budding in mid-September. The university made arrangements to allow the public to see the blooming flower and experience its famously foul odor, which is often compared to rotting flesh. So, Dan, you were correct.
Oh, all right then. Actually, I just pulled up a list, and there it says 10 plants that smell like meat.
All right. Well, the first 6 inches of the plant smell like shit, though. So.
Wow. How old are you?
Oh my God.
Dude, honestly, half of these plants look like they have STDs.
They don't look like penis. That penis plant does not look like a penis because I've seen it before.
You've
does
seen a
not look
penis
like
before?
I've seen-
Are we going to really do
Yes.
this again, Dan?
the plant asshole. That doesn't look like no. It doesn't look like a dick at all. It looks like a I don't know what it looks like. It doesn't look like a dick though. Do you agree?
All right, time to look it up.
Yeah, look it up.
Apparently, Dan. Apparently,
No, I thought it
between
kind of
last
looked like
week,
it kind of looks like a piece of corn before you pull all the leaves and stuff off it.
Yeah, no, that I could. Right, I could see
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about there, but
Right. I don't
so
know
it
why-
looks like an uncircumcised penis.
all right.
Between last week and this week, Dan is the expert. Apparently,
So,
Yeah, not really seeing the penis resemblance.
Yeah.
Even if even a weird penis.
anyway,
yeah.
maybe a dog penis. But you know about those, right, Buddha?
yeah, I do.
All right. This show is
Oh, I found one. Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh my god, it looks just like a penis. I think we're looking at the wrong photos. Holy moly.
Are you sure you're not on some other website?
Yeah, it's even attached to a guy.
Oh, all right. Also in here, I saw a news article kind of concerning. It's loading up right now. Out of Fox News, U.S. concerned about Russian military activity near Ukraine as House Republicans press Biden to deploy troops. I got to be honest. If Russia invades Ukraine, that's going to be bad news.
Yeah, we should totally go to war, like right now. Again,
We haven't
should
been
totally
in
do
war in a
that.
very long time.
Yeah,
It's
we should
about
totally
time.
get involved, like right away.
Dude, I mean, I don't know what good could come out of this if we stuck our noses in this. I mean, I feel
None.
bad, but
zero good.
Nothing at all.
That depends how much money you have invested in the military-industrial complex.
That's
there.
true. It could be a lot of good,
Yeah.
It's true.
but for the general populace, no good.
Right.
Also, another
Can,
article.
hold on. Can the general population? Can you even invest in any arms companies? Like, are any of them publicly traded?
I don't know. Look it up here.
But anyway,
Great
moving
question.
Okay, and then also read an article today here. Also, semiconductor shortage news update. PlayStation pulling back on their production of PS5 due to semiconductor shortages, making the console even more rare.
You know, we've had a shortage for like a year. How the fuck has no one in the U.S. stepped up and just started manufacturing them?
Right.
I think it's-
I've said
I
that
think
too.
it's
The metals.
yeah.
Yeah. But the thing about it is, like, I mean, while I do agree with you, it's like, I was talking to my dad about this, and and he deals with like electronic components a lot. Some of the parts that they're asking for to build some of the projects he's working on are quoted at like 70 to 80 weeks,
Wow.
which is like almost 2 years.
Yep.
So, I mean, if shit's this backed up, I don't know if we'll ever, it just doesn't seem like we'll ever recover from this.
Well, I'm curious.
It's just getting
as-
longer and longer. Kind of like that plant.
So it says, I guess the main metals used are silicon, germanium, and gallium arsenide. And I'm no expert, but I'm curious where they're mined from. Platinum is also used. Probably a lot of that shit probably comes from Africa, if I had to guess.
Have you seen videos or pictures of like the scrap yards where people are going and pulling gold and stuff and silicon out of like old, computer monitors and computers and just shit that got thrown away?
No.
No.
Oh
That's
man,
crazy, though.
it's
Yeah.
horrific though. Like these piles of plastic are just on fire, burning into the atmosphere. It's fucking crazy.
Makes you wonder why.
Go ahead.
No, go on, Dan.
I was just about to say. I mean, you know, as far as the car companies, they use so many semiconductors and because these cars are so computerized now. So much components like that, and with the billions of dollars like General Motors and Ford have, you'd think they would have had this. At least them, you think would have had this shit, their own factories and stuff, building these semiconductors. Look at all the billions and billions of dollars they lost in the last year because of, inventory that they couldn't sell. They're just finally starting to get the semiconductors into their, I think they had, 500,000 pickup trucks just sitting in giant lots where they couldn't do anything with them. You'd think they would have had this shit already, with their money, their deep pockets, that they would have had this figured out years ago.
Yeah, I mean, but the other thing is, like, did anyone ever really expect this to be a problem?
If you type in,
Wow.
why hasn't the U.S. started manufacturing semiconductors? Literally, the first article says because it's cheaper to get it elsewhere. That's the only
Right, that's what
reason.
I was thinking. Yep, that's
The
what I was
U.S.
thinking.
produces 12% of the world's computer chip supply. Like, dude, literally,
It would create jobs.
the U.S. is so pathetic, like, when it comes to any supply chain shit. Like, like, obviously before our time, when they would manufacture everything here and it actually
Right.
fucking meant something.
Right.
Like, even, and like, one of the big things, especially just for what I do, like, one of the big things was always tools made in the U.S. Like, that was like a stamp that fucking meant something.
Craftsman, like
Yeah. But like now,
Bob Vila.
yes. Now, like, even if you buy, like, all DeWalt's tools, like, so they're made in the U.S., but if you read the fucking sticker, it says made in the U.S. and then small with globally sourced materials. And it's like, all you're doing is buying a kit from somewhere overseas and putting it together. It's just assembled
Right.
in the U.S. Like,
Yeah, that's what they should really change it to, just assembled in the U.S.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's we could be creating so many jobs, and I'm gonna. The thing I'm gonna talk about tonight kind of ties into some of this a little bit, so I might just kick this for right now, if you guys are cool with that. Because
Yeah.
we'll circle back towards the end. Did you see here, Buddha? I know you're into kind of space and all this stuff. Near-Earth asteroid is a fragment from the moon, scientists say.
When have you ever heard me give a fuck about space?
All right.
Dude, actually,
Buddha's
nice.
music.
Did you? I actually
Who cares
just
about
saw.
dinosaurs?
Yeah, let's talk about dragons and shit. No, I actually just saw an article that said, I think it was the moon has enough oxygen to support a population, but it's it's under the surface. Let me see. I think it was the moon.
Yeah. Well, they're saying that this quasi moon named Kamalo. There's like
Was it Kamala Harris?
no. No.
Yeah, right here. The
Dude,
moon has
have you
enough
seen her-
Hold
oh, go
on.
ahead.
The moon has enough oxygen to keep billions alive for 100,000 years. And it says the top layer alone has enough oxygen to sustain 8 billion people.
Wow.
Wow.
So everybody that wants to leave Earth, knock yourself out. Go to the fucking moon. You can start fresh. You can be whatever you want to fucking be. And you can live in your fucking domes. And that way, if anybody gets mad at you or you get offended, you can go live in your own little fucking dome. And then we don't have to hear you cry because you're on the fucking moon.
Yeah. Did you see that one poll? Speaking of Harris, that her approval rating is at like 28%.
Yeah, I heard it's
Holy
Yeah, that's-
shit.
That's
Not much
almost as low as it was during the primaries.
Yeah. I mean, dude, like, and I want to know, okay, out of 100 people, what 28 of them think that she's doing a good job?
Yeah, I think they actually meant 28 people, period.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't,
Biden's ain't much better either.
yeah.
38.
30.
Yeah,
Is it
but-
38?
I mean,
but
that's all.
let-
It's all probably bullshit too.
I was gonna say, let's be realistic though. Like, those polls don't mean shit. They pick like 100 people that tune into their station, and they're like, "This is what it means for all 330 million of you." It's like, no, dude, just like, no, stop it. But I mean, they're all pieces of shit. I'm just saying, they're clearly skewed.
Same shit, different.
It's
pile.
probably less.
Yeah. Well, yeah, her approval ratings are.
So the best.
Oops. Sorry. On
Nice.
that one.
oh, what was that? That
Rod
Biden
drank
pooping
too
his
much.
pants?
Sound like somebody puking.
All right. Let's see here. Is there anything else in the headlines? You're right there, Dan.
Yeah, I was going to say that was Buddha last week, right?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, that is so fucking sick.
John, I don't even know what you're doing.
What? What? All right.
No one knows what you're doing right now.
I'm not. What are you talking about? Anyway, looking here on the headlines, all my shit got closed. Was there anything else in the headlines you guys wanted to talk about?
Nothing that I want to talk about on this show.
I mean, we're gonna hit the off button and talk about it anyway, so we might as well just do it here.
No, it's very divisive. I'd rather not.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll go there. In a
What
little
about
bit.
that? What about that show where a bunch of people died?
Which one?
That
Travis
Scott thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
What
yeah,
about
I heard
that?
about that.
I don't know. What was the latest on that?
9
haven't
people
followed
died.
it.
It's up to 9 people.
Okay.
But
Didn't
okay,
they-
so they all got trampled, but it seems like this was kind of organized. Like they were, and I'm completely ignorant to all of this, but from what I heard, which could be very well wrong.
From what I understand is that Travis Scott wants people to do that. That's what he, like, I guess there's a certain cue or something in one of the songs he starts or says something, and he actually wants people to, like, rush up, I guess, toward the stage. And from what I was hearing, and that's when I guess this all kind of started.
But it looks organized to where, like, it can't. If I understand correctly, all these people rushed the VIP entrance. Is that correct?
That I don't know. I
Yeah.
didn't hear that part.
Well, because it was like specifically planned to go after an area where there was going to be low amount of like security and people, so that if there's, let's say, 5 to 10 people working, but 100 people rush the door, nobody's gonna be able to stop that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
I was
there's,
actually
like-
shocked with. Oh, go ahead, Buddha.
No. I was just gonna say there's like multiple lawsuits and just it's like a shit show.
but I mean, who are they gonna sue?
They're suing him and like Drake and just whoever put the event together.
Yeah, but how?
There's-
I mean, they
sue
took
themselves for being interested in that music.
well,
God rest their souls. So I know some of them were young,
but even
No, dude,
so,
there was like a 9-year-old.
Ooh,
Like it was
I
it
heard
was like
14. I thought that was the youngest.
14
Yeah,
is the
it's-
youngest I heard, but
there's a
That's
9-year-old
horrible.
in a coma.
that's horrible.
So yeah,
Okay.
it's
Yeah, that sucks.
terrible.
But it's like it sounded like it was planned and organized, and why would you try to do that? I don't know.
one thing I was shocked that they did on that. Well, not with that whole thing is crazy, but I think it was like TMZ or one of those websites. They actually showed a photo of one of the deceased people. Like the person was dead, and this wasn't like a model or anything. It looked like the real photo of the person dead, like just their face, obviously. But they showed that, and I'm like, wow, that's the first time I've really in a long time I've ever seen them just show an actual face of a dead person, not the a clay or a computer animation of them or something.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't identify the person. That's why they wanted to try to identify who it was, and they just put a real photo of the dead person there.
I just
Brutal.
don't like.
Yeah.
I just don't know what exactly happened, and so everything that I read or heard was that it was like a coordinated effort to get a large group of people through a very small, guarded area. So, yeah.
Yeah, there was all kinds of conspiracies and stuff about that. My wife got sucked into that, and she was
Like
telling me
what?
some of them, just like the satanic rituals and stuff. Did you hear any of that?
No.
From what?
From this concert where a bunch of people died. It's interesting. I don't know if I believe that. I do believe that a lot of these celebrities and stuff, whether you believe in heaven and hell or whatever, that a lot of these people would literally sell their soul if it does exist. They would definitely sell their soul to the devil to get a little more money or a little more fame. So and plenty of people have come out and talked about that, you know, so it's not out of the realm that he was trying to do something like that.
Man, you know, speaking of like exactly what you're just talking about, the crazy thing about that is, like you said, you made the point of whether it does or does not exist. It doesn't matter, because if it exists to that person in their mind, they're going to do whatever fucked up shit that they think is going to give them whatever it is they're trying to get.
True.
Yeah.
So like that's
Yeah,
the fucking
true.
scary
100%,
part, man.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to get at. Yeah, absolutely.
People are fucking
Mental illness.
clowns.
They are just a bunch of fucking idiots.
Unfortunately, these fucking clowns are put up on a fucking, you're putting the pussy on a pedestal. You know what I mean? Like that's what it is, and they're given like this absorbent amount of money and influence. Like fuck the money, the influence is insane, because these people are all fucking retarded, and like so many of them are just pure evil too, and some people are just so stupid to just like
Gullible.
hang on every word that they say. Yeah, gullible, naive, right. Like however you want to spin it. Like the world is run by fucking brilliant, evil people that use these fucking morons to influence everybody else.
Yeah.
Right.
And even
I mean,
then,
dude,
they're not like that smart. You know?
No, it's just people.
It's just they know that people are fucking stupid, and you can divide them easy. You know? It's pretty,
I had this conversation with someone a while back. It's like, and again, back in the day, I mean, back in the, 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, I mean, yeah, there were probably still people like what we're talking about, but, again, I always talk back about the internet. You could worship certain people and certain celebrities by, having like posters of them or reading books on them and stuff like that. But now with the internet, again, I always talk about it, it's just so much more easier for these people that act like sheep and have, low IQ levels to sit and just watch nonstop YouTube videos and TikTok and websites and just get indulged with all this crap and bullshit about these worthless human beings, like Buddha said, and they turn into frickin' zombies over these people and think that they're gods, and like you said, worship them.
I imagine like if they had the internet when the Beatles were around. Like the way chicks and even dudes, like people went crazy for them, like probably would have been all kinds of fucked up shit. But yeah, it's about the same thing now. But yeah, that's when celebrities were first like really, icons. So people would have went absolutely nuts.
Well, I'm looking here and it shows people like rushing the gates, but like, was the festival already going on?
I think that was a separate incident. I think they said at the beginning of the day, people like rushed those gates. If you're looking at the ones by like the booth, like
more like the security, like metal detectors and stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that those photos were before anyone was killed. I could be wrong, but I think they took those and said, "Hey, look, like multiple times throughout the day, people rushed, and that one, like people getting stomped, but no one died." I think it was later in the day, when people were dying.
That's crazy.
If we're talking about the same photo.
Yeah. I just saw a video of like people rushing through like a security checkpoint, and it looked like it was just like an organized attempt to get in without having to pay for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
That's what was my impression of it. But again, like I said, I could be 100% wrong. Dan.
Yes.
Your microphone is like keeps rubbing on your shirt or something.
I'm not even moving.
It sounds like you're shaving. Like when you know that sound when you're like shaving, then the razors go. That's what it sounds like. It's only on your channel. Yeah, it's really weird. Anyway, sorry. All right.
Dan's actually just shaving while we're
that's
the show.
I am shaving.
But yeah, it's pretty sad. All right. What do you guys? Who wants to go first tonight? See, he's doing it again.
I can't. I'm not moving. I'm seriously not moving. It's not. I'm telling you.
What is that? Is it you?
No. I'm sitting there staring still, looking at a screen. I'm not even moving.
Are you shaving?
Where's the bug at? Like the little thing with the microphone piece. Where's it?
It's in my ear, like it always is.
Yes, but the thing that controls the volume on it, where's that resting?
What thing that controls the volume?
You can hear him like
What
messing.
are you talking about?
Dude, what thing? This thing? Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds like you're eating celery.
Yes. It's like, okay, Dan, there's like a little piece up the cord, like halfway.
Hang on a second.
Are you sweeping the floor?
There. Went away. It went away. He's like, fine, I'll just go away permanently. No, we don't want that.
I was talking for like a minute, and then I realized that somehow my fucking software got closed, and I wasn't sending any signal.
Whoops.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah. It's
Okay,
like there's like a little piece or a bug on the wire going to your phone. That's where the microphone is. And so if that's resting on your shirt, it's picking that up.
Oh.
Yeah.
This thing right here?
Yeah. That's the
I didn't
microphone.
know that was the fucking microphone. I thought the microphone was in the
In the
I feel like
earpiece?
a moron.
Oh, the
Yeah.
thing not by your mouth?
Yeah. Move that thing closer to your mouth and talk.
Hello?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I learned something new today. I've been using this thing for how long?
Yeah. Well, and that's what it's been driving me crazy. I'm like,
So that actually probably has been rubbing off. Every time you said it and I said no, it was not rubbing against my shirt. It actually was because I didn't realize that was the microphone.
Hey, Dan, we know.
yeah. What's this
Well,
thing with a
I
bunch
feel
of
like
buttons
one of
on
the-
it and two speakers? Well, one of them's a
Well, I
microphone.
feel like one of the idiots we were talking about here. I feel like one of them.
This thing
Anyway.
only says mic. It doesn't say raphone.
All right. So what do you got tonight, Dan?
Well, I'm going to, of course, do an automotive piece here. I'm going to talk about a corporation. I don't know if any of you guys you ever heard of American Motors Corporation?
Yes.
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 Okay, very good. Because I usually think most people under the age of 35, most people, unless they had a person in the family or relative or they knew someone, would never even heard of American Motors. The company really it's a very interesting company. And I'm not going to go over, obviously, every single thing. We'd be here for hours, like I always say. But it's going to kind of hit some of the points of it, of why it was such an important company.
Was the Gremlin an AMC?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Gremlin was an AMC. So was the Pacer, which, of course, was in Wayne's World.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
Yep, that was a
Earthmobile.
Pacer. Yeah, right. American Motors got its start, really, it merged between two companies. It started in 1954, and it was basically a merge from Hudson and Nash. Those were the two companies that merged to create American Motors. And American Motors started off kind of ahead of the game right off the bat, because in the 50s, 60s, and even in the 70s, American cars were giant gas-guzzling boats. They had huge V8s, just huge cars. American Motors always took the stance of the small car company. They always built smaller four-cylinder V6 engine cars throughout the 60s, 50s, and 60s, which would be interesting because in the 1970s, there was something called the gas crisis in 1973 and 1979, where there was a shortage of gasoline and everybody started getting rid of they wanted to get rid of the big giant tanks and go to small cars.
Think we're getting close to one of those again?
What's that?
Had a mini one.
You think we're getting close to one again?
Well, we will never see well, I don't know. We won't see something like what was in the 70s. That was literally all the gas stations ran out of gas, and people were. I always thought if a gas crisis happened like it did in the 70s, from what I've seen and read, nowadays there would be murders and fights, and there would be just with today's society that we have, it would just be a disaster if it happened. I mean, people were crazy back then, but it wasn't like it is with people now. But it could happen. I mean, it could happen. It was literally yeah.
So you never know, because they're floating the idea of closing that Michigan pipeline too.
And there was already that shortage earlier this year where plenty of gas stations across the country didn't have gas.
You're right. You saw how the people reacted with that.
Knows?
You're right.
Yeah.
It's all by
I forgot
design.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only saving grace being that like so many people now have the ability to work from home.
Right.
So like that does take a bit of strain, but it's like, dude, there's so like literally the rest of the country, anyone that drives a truck for a living, does deliveries, physically has to do, like, even for me, like I can't work from anywhere other than the job site, like, you know. But anyway,
Right.
go on.
But yeah, so this company, American Motors, American Motors was always a small. You never heard the big four. You always heard of the big three: GM, Ford, and Chrysler. American Motors was just always too small of a company. It never had the capital. It never had the R&D budget that the big three had. So the company was always constantly trying to reinvent the wheel. They no pun intended, but they're always trying to invent the wheel because they didn't have that money to build new platforms and new engines. The company, the reason this has always fascinated me, American Motors, even though I've always been a Cadillac and I used to be a GM guy and all that other stuff and love them, American cars like that. But American Motors fascinated me because their cars were always ugly as hell. I could never stand the looks of American Motors products. And I don't like small cars, so that's the reason I never. But I always got interested in how this company tried to survive and what they did. And believe it or not, there's things that all of us drive today and that are remnants, are creations sort of what American Motors did. That's the reason I'm doing this story, not just to talk about a car company that's no longer around, but to kind of go over real quick what transpired over the time that we have today in our cars that American Motors started. So AMC, as the 60s go on, 1970 hits and they buy a little known company. American Motors buys a little known company called Jeep. They buy Jeep from Kaiser Frazer, and they help turn Jeep into a lot. I consider what we have Jeep as of today. Jeep is one of the most popular companies around. Not companies, it's owned by another company. I mean, popular models around. Everybody knows Jeep. They sell like crazy. And American Motors turned that Jeep into what it is today. Different models. They created the four-wheel drive Quadrajet system. That's a Quadrajet. I think that's a carburetor. I'm forgetting the name of it right now. But they created that four-wheel drive system. And it's really crazy to see what they did. Now, a couple things I want to go over real quick. I've always been a big person that has, not been a fan of crossovers and SUVs, right? I like SUVs, but I've never been a crossover fan. Well, those have, exploded. Sedans are practically dead right now, and everybody drives a SUV or crossover. Well, in 1979 and early 80, American Motors created a car called the Eagle. The Eagle was a four-wheel drive crossover style. It looks kind of like a station wagon, but it was, at the time, it really wasn't considered more. It was kind of considered they didn't call it a crossover because that word didn't exist, but it was sort of what we consider today a crossover. Now, there's two things about this car that were not even heard of back in the day. The first most important thing was a four-wheel drive system. A car with four-wheel drive absolutely just did not exist in the late 70s, early 80s. I think Subaru came around pretty quick after that, but no American cars had it. Today, you're lucky if you can find a car that does not have all-wheel drive on it. American Motors was one of the first companies to do that. And because in those days it was either a front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive car. That was it. Nothing else. So car companies started coming along in the 90s. GM and Ford started putting all-wheel drive on more cars then. And then in the 2000s, it really exploded. But that was something that you can definitely thank American Motors for trying on their Eagle. And that car is very popular right now. That car has a very big cult following. Very durable, maybe not the best looking car, but a very durable vehicle. Now, the other thing is, 1984, AMC creates something called the Jeep Cherokee. Well, the Jeep Cherokee, again, if you wanted an SUV in the 1980s or 70s, you had to buy a big giant Bronco or Blazer. Not everybody wanted a big giant Bronco or Blazer. Well, when AMC came up with the Cherokee, it sold like, it just took off. Sales went through the roof, took off like crazy. Then Ford came out with the Bronco 2. GM followed with the S10 Blazer. They all kind of came out around the same time, but Jeep was the one that really kick-started all this. Fast forward a couple more years, AMC, which was at the time, and I'm going to get into this in just a second, was owned by a French company called Renault. It looks like Renault, but it's pronounced Renault. Okay, Renault actually.
I've seen that car before. It looks like a little Chevy. Looks like a little Cavalier or something, right?
Yes. Yeah, you probably saw the Renault Alliance.
Yep. Yeah, that sounds right. All right.
Yep. It's a very dinky little cheap-looking thing. Yes.
Always called it the
What
Renault.
happened? Yep. What happened was in 78, 79, AMC was damn near bankrupt. They had very little capital. They were running out of money, definitely in the red. So Renault wanted to get, the French government, which owns Renault, wanted to get their cars into the United States. They saw this by using American Motors' dealer network. If they purchase into American Motors, they can not only help American Motors out, but they can also start selling their cars at American Motors dealers in the 70s or late 70s, early 80s. So Renault had a big hand in this, I should mention, along with AMC. But kind of just fast forward, and you'll see why I mentioned that in just a minute. But Jeep creates something called the code name, the XJ, in 1985. They start working on it. Well, fast forward about 7 years, the XJ turns into the Grand Cherokee, which everybody and their brother knows what a Grand Cherokee is. The Grand Cherokee took off and sold even better than anybody would have expected. And that was from the blood, sweat, and tears of American Motors and Renault. Now you're going to ask, what the hell happened to American Motors? So the gentleman that was the CEO of Renault at the time, his name is Georges Bessy. I'm probably screwing his name up. He was the CEO of Renault. He saw he definitely saw something here. He knew that this would take off. He knew it needed, they had to sink a lot of money into it, but they thought that this could really work out and they could start turning the corner with AMC. The French government wasn't so sure of that. They saw American Motors as a money pit. They just could not see it. But he was a CEO of Renault, so they let it go for that particular time. Well, what ends up happening is 1986, this George, whatever his name is, Bessy, is assassinated in front of his house by an extremist group, a very far left extremist group in France. He's killed, and at that moment, the French government decides, we're going with our original idea. We don't want any part of American Motors. We want to get out of this deal altogether. So here comes Chrysler, Lee Iacocca, which I'm going to eventually do a story on Lee Iacocca. But Lee Iacocca, who runs Chrysler in the 80s, sees this as a perfect. He already had some dealings with American Motors, and he sees this as a gold mine. He gets Jeep, which everybody wants fucking Jeep. It's just, everyone wants their hands on that because it's such a moneymaker. American Motors had a brand new plant that they just built. He wanted that, and he wanted all the engineering and everything that Renault and American Motors were working on. So in 1987, Chrysler buys American Motors, and it's dissolved. By 1988, most American Motors dealerships are turned into what's known as, you guys might be old enough to remember, it was called the Jeep Eagle division. And they actually had dealers that said Jeep Eagle. Well, the Jeep Eagle was what was left over from American Motors. Chrysler put in some junky cars, put an Eagle badge on them, but they didn't give a shit about that. They wanted Jeep. And American Motors absolutely, even though they were long gone, they helped Chrysler make it through the decade. There's no doubt that Chrysler would have been probably bankrupt themselves had they not bought American Motors in 1987. So you have what happens here. And the Grand Cherokee, like I said, the entire Jeep brand just is on fire. It helped Chrysler out immensely. But those are the things there. And, you had mentioned, Buddha, about I'm trying to think, weapons and, having, what the hell were you talking about? Trying to think about what you
I
were
don't remember
mentioning
saying
about.
anything about weapons.
No, not about weapons, about buying stock in military companies and stuff like that to deal with the military.
If they're publicly traded.
Right. Well, American Motors also had a division that they sold off in the early 80s called AM General. AM General would end up being who created the Hummer. So that's another little DNA that came back from American Motors, was the Hummer that you saw in the 90s or whenever, 2000s, when that was out. But basically the story here is just to kind of go over what American Motors did. And such a small company that created so many things that we have now in our cars. Like, again, this SUV craze, definitely because of American Motors. I don't care what anyone says. All-wheel drive cars, definitely because of American Motors. And this company, like I said, always barely ever survived. Oh, and also the warranty, too. They created the first 3-year warranty on a car. No other car companies were doing that. In the early 70s, they created a warranty, bumper-to-bumper warranty. And that was another thing, that they were so innovative with so little. And, they've got a cult following. They really do. They've got a cult following even today. After 87, obviously, there were no more AMC cars. But you can look them up, and, they have quite a legacy. A lot of things that they've done, and a lot of their, they didn't have the massive R&D budgets, like I said, of GM and Ford and the foreign competitors. But things that they did moved on to car companies today, that car companies use today. There was something that they created was called the PLM, Product Life Cycle Management. And it's basically it's a business approach to making changes quicker in the auto industry, because American Motors always had to make changes quick because they didn't have that big budget. So instead of a car in development for 7 or 8 years, 9 years, a car could be in development for 2 years and get put out there. And the auto industry, especially Chrysler, because they bought them, took this and they ran with this. The LH cars, one more thing I need to mention, the LH cars of the 90s, I don't know if you guys remember them, the Chrysler LHS, the Concorde, that chassis is based off of an American Motors chassis that AMC was working on at the time. Chrysler, of course, reworked it a little bit, but that chassis helped. Again, it was a very popular car for Chrysler in the 90s, and it goes back to what American Motors did. And I bring up American Motors because really, this was closer to our time frame. I mean, we were, either just barely born or little kids or whatever, to know what AMC was. I mean, Packard, Studebaker, all those other companies were freaking history in the 40s and 50s. But AMC did last quite a bit longer than all these other companies into more, I guess you'd say, more modern times. But yeah, John, you mentioned the Gremlin. They had the Pacer. They had a car called the Matador, Ambassador, Hornet, and they were
Wasn't
most
the
of these.
Bricklin one?
No, Bricklin. Bricklin did use some AMC parts, but it was not an AMC.
Was it just Bricklin?
Yeah, it was. That was an independent company.
Gotcha.
The gentleman's name was actually Bricklin. The one little thing I kind of did forget to mention that AMC did make, though, that was definitely kind of far off from their little dinky economy cars, was a car called the AMC Javelin. And the Javelin was actually a Mustang fighter and Firebird and Camaro fighter. And that was a very, very fast, I wouldn't say a sexy car, but it wasn't a bad looking car. It had some nice lines. It was not a bad looking vehicle. It was very fast, performance oriented. They had the AMX, Javelin AMX, So these cars they had a little bit of excitement, but the gas crisis killed off the performance in 1973. That's when anybody that lived through that, if you ever talk to any of your grandparents or parents, they'll tell you if they were old enough to know and looked at cars. In 1973, 74, the performance fell right off the cliff for cars because insurance companies were charging astronomical rates for performance cars. The government stuck their nose into everything like they always do, and they completely completely messed up and fucked up the cars, with all these mandates, bumper mandates, performance, catalytic converters, emissions, smog controls. And that's why you have a car that had a 500 cubic inch engine that put out about 180 horsepower,
Dude, that AMX, that car looks way more futuristic. Like, it's way ahead of its time. Did you see this, the AMX 3?
Oh, that was a concept car.
Yeah, but I mean, that was a slick looking car.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, 390 cubic inch V8. Two-seater. Yeah. Mid-engine car, too.
They did. Correct. Yes, that was
that thing almost looks like a Pantera.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
That's a cool looking car. That's fucking cool.
Yeah, American Motors, that was a concept. What's that?
It's worth $1 million right now.
Yeah, they just couldn't. They could not come up with from what I remember that one, they just couldn't come up with the budget to actually produce it, and it was going to be way, way too expensive if they were able to produce it. It just, they didn't think that it was going to sell enough, especially with an AMC name on it.
Yeah.
But that's the story. Again, there's a lot more to American Motors. I was just kind of an interesting thing. I mentioned Jeep. People don't understand how many companies Jeep went through. Jeep was first off started by Willys, then it went to Kaiser Frazer, then American Motors, then Chrysler. Then Chrysler when Chrysler merged with Daimler, who makes Mercedes-Benz. Then it was under Celebris, which was a financial company that owned Chrysler for a short time. Then it went under Fiat, and now it's under Stellantis, whatever they call it now. So 8
Wow, I thought it was still under Chrysler.
Well, Chrysler was purchased by Fiat in 2009. Remember when the big bankruptcy happened and Chrysler? Yeah. So once the government bailed out Chrysler, Fiat came in and bought Chrysler. Peugeot, if I'm saying the name right, purchased Fiat, and now they created this under this umbrella called Stellantis, which sounds like a medication.
It does. Something I would take for a herpes flare-up or something.
Right. So it's just crazy. That's 8 owners that 8 owners that Jeep has gone through since it's been around. It shows you the lasting legacy that Jeep has. That Jeep will outlast any car company.
Seems like it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the story of American Motors. I just thought it would be something to talk about and just to kind of go over what American Motors has brought to the table. And even though they're long gone, they've been gone for 34, 35 years or whatever, there's things that we have on our cars today that American Motors had the insight and the whatever you want to call it to come up with, that when no other company was doing it, even though they were such a small, I don't know how you want to say it, not insignificant, but they just, compared to the big three, they were just nothing really, to the big three, the giants there. So I think it's always fascinated me, and it's kind of sucks because, and the last thing I'll say was, right before Chrysler came in to buy American Motors, they were actually turning the corner. They were actually starting to see profits. Morale in the company started going up. They had a lot of new products that, like I was mentioning to you, they had a lot of new products in the pipeline that were getting ready to come out. And it's kind of sad in a way because this company that suffered for so long, for pretty much since they started in '54, they were always barely be able to survive. They were finally turning the corner, and then just as they were getting ready to do that, that guy was killed, and the French government wanted out of it, and Chrysler came in and dissolved the entire company. So
crazy.
That's the story.
Some of these cars look pretty sweet though.
Yeah.
Some of them look like dog shit.
Yeah.
Like, I understand it was the 70s, but holy fuck.
70s were a dark era for cars.
Yeah.
They were mid-70s on.
There were some cool cars in the 70s.
Mid-70s on, really. is where
That
they
70s
turned.
Chevelle was pretty badass.
No. I'm saying mid 70s on is when they started going down the toilet.
Oh, yeah, I got you.
Yeah. The early 70s, you're right. Early 70s were badass, man. Oh, they were, because that's, again, like I said, before all the emissions and the government mandates. And, it was impossible. I mean, people were paying $200 and $300 a month back in the early 70s for a pony car, like a Mustang or a Camaro or something like that.
Yeah, my mom had a Camaro back in the day.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean,
I remember
I
our
started
first
thinking of
family
the
car
old
that
shit.
I
Was
remember was a Olds 88.
oh yeah, it's a boat.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, there was a little lag there. I heard a couple people at once. I just remember my parents' first family car was that Olds 88. That thing was ugly as sin. It was maroon with maroon interior. Squeezed 6 of us in there fucking constantly.
Oh, I think my
No,
grandma or grandpa had the same car.
probably.
He had a 88 Mustang growing up.
No shit.
Yeah.
What was the family ride?
That and then the good old Plymouth Voyager.
Okay, all right. Buddha,
I
what
swore
about
my
you? I
dad
remember a
was gonna-
minivan.
My mom always
If you
had
look up-
minivans.
Yeah, the green one that got fucking rear-ended
Ugh.
while you guys were out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I swear my dad was gonna drive that Voyager till the wheels fell off. That thing had more miles on it. That thing probably went back and forth the same amount of miles it would to go back and forth to and from the moon.
Hence the name Voyager, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dan.
I was just going to say, my first memory of a car was
Model T.
Yeah. Oh, you guys suck. No, my first memory was
Horse and
a
buggy.
19. Guys are pushing it.
Right, so-
A 1977 Chevy Monte Carlo, and a white 77 Chevy. My dad always bought a brand new car every 3 years, and I get this from my father. When he bought a car, he bought the most loaded, optioned car that he could buy. He didn't buy a base model pile of shit. He bought the best of the best, and it was a white car with a red top, Monte Carlo.
Was it
And
two-door?
I'd love to get yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they only made Monte Carlos in 2 doors.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Until
But-
the 90s.
Yeah, it was a free for all in the 90s. But that was my first, and then after that, later on, he had a Ford Taurus station wagon, black Ford Taurus station wagon.
Dude, when I was a kid, I used to think station wagons were so cool because I forget what movie it was, like fucking Radio Flyer or one of them horrible ones. They were just playing in the back, and I thought that was the coolest fucking thing. I was like, oh my god! And I just had these grand visions of going on family vacations and just sitting in the back playing checkers. Like, what a fucking death trap that would have been. Like,
Oh, yeah.
horrible idea.
Radio Flyer is such a sad movie.
Yeah, but it fucking sucks too. It's just it's bad. It's almost sad because it's so bad. But no, yeah.
The kid from Jurassic Park in that, and Elijah Wood.
You know, I've never seen Jurassic Park. I've seen parts of it, but I've never sat
What?
down and watched it. Yeah,
Wow.
a lot of those like big. I don't know, just never got into them. But you say Elijah Wood is in there?
Yeah.
Holy
I
shit!
think he's playing the main character. Well, something came up with a news article the other day that reminded me, like, that mentioned that movie. And then I'm like, who was in that movie? Because I remember it. And then actually, I found out who played the mother in that movie. Lorraine Bracco from Goodfellas.
Which actor in Goodfellas was she?
She was Karen.
Oh no shit!
Yeah.
Okay.
Melfi on The Sopranos.
Now, okay, I'm mixing up. I think Shia LaBeouf and who's the other guy?
Elijah
Wood.
Wood was
Elijah
from,
Wood, I'm
Lord of the
looking him up.
Rings.
Rob
Right.
never watched that.
I've
was
never
from-
seen that. Okay,
Elijah
so
Wood was
Wood.
from Free Willy.
No, he was not.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
He was
No.
not in Free Willy.
He was in that fucking movie. That one movie with the thing.
Very good.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Was it before
Hang
Lord of the
on.
Wings?
Was
Lord
it Flipper?
Of the
Lord of
Was
the
he-
Wings. That's
he in
you, Dad.
Yeah, I said Lord of the Wings.
The Hot Wings.
Oh shit!
Been a long day.
Dude, that's it. The next time we go out, we're going Lord of the Wings, Dan.
Hey, that's a good name for a restaurant.
Yeah.
Lord of the Wings. Come up with that. So anyway, that was the story of American Motors. Hey guys, what do you guys think of that?
I think
pretty
they went out of
crazy.
business for a reason.
It's crazy how many companies there were that just fucking folded. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One funny thing about this, did one last thing I want to mention is one of the CEOs from 1955, I think, to early 60s was a gentleman by the name of George Romney. Sound familiar?
No.
Well, he doesn't shouldn't sound familiar.
No.
Romney sounds familiar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm joking.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't hear what you said.
No, I said no. I'm still fixated on the Lord of the Wings. Sorry.
But anyway,
A side note: I just found out that Shia LaBeouf's name is Shy. I always thought it was Shia LaBeouf. It's Shia LaBeouf.
Well, Shia, Shia.
Yeah. Oh, so it's Shia LaBeouf. What a fucking. I mean, never mind.
Okay, Elijah Wood was in Flipper, not Free Willy.
Oh, yeah, that was close.
I knew he was in there with a fucking porpoise.
The fish movie. With the big fish. That movie. All right, Buddha. You're up.
All right, my story is going to be on Elijah Wood and his dealings in Flipper.
I wish I had a dolphin sound effect.
Yeah.
I'm going to steal that one for later.
There you go.
Let's see. I would also like to point out that the late 60s had some pretty badass cars, because you cannot pass up that Impala, that 67, the one they used in Supernatural. Such a cool fucking car.
Yeah, a lot of people consider the late 60s like literally the best era. Like that was right before things went down the toilet, was really the late 60s, early 70s. But you're right. Even big cars looked good back then.
Yeah, it's like everything from like once you got into like the 30s and 40s and you had like some super cool looking fucking cars, they really just like declined kind of hard. Well, no, I take that back, because 50s were still cool. 60s was like, 70s, like you said, is when you're really like, all right. 80s, I don't know what the fuck happened in the 80s.
The late 70s, or I'll say one last thing. The late 70s, early 80s is, by any historian that you talk to about cars will tell you that late 70s, early 80s were absolutely the worst era, the darkest of all cars. The styling. You had a Corvette that barely put out 180 horsepower. That was a Corvette. You know? Yeah. I mean, you just had at that point they were going to front wheel drive. These cars could not even get out of their own way. They were just complete. It didn't start getting a little bit better till the late 80s. That's when things started. They started experimenting with turbo and superchargers and things like that. So they kind of started getting out of it in the late 80s, but early 80s you could forget it. Everything is garbage.
The 90s were still pretty fucking terrible too.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the 90s is when you really started seeing like all of the cars basically being marketed in name only. Like especially dude, like the Cutlass, like when that fucking, oh God, the fucking Malibus, like when that shit came. Rob, your parents had that Malibu, remember?
They did, yeah.
God damn, like how the fuck? I was saying, dude, even the Monte Carlos, the Impalas, like how the fuck did you go from such a cool ass fucking car to that? Right.
And a lot of people will tell you the reason is it all started really with the government. Really, it did. The government put all those restrictions on the cars, the bumpers. There was a point in time right in like the 74, I think, 73, 74, where they immediately told the car companies, you need to have these special bumpers, 5 mile per hour bumper regulations. So they didn't have time to redesign the cars, so they put these, like Chrysler was notorious for it, they put these big 4-inch looking bumper pads on the front of the car that stood out.
Oh, that's what those are for.
Yeah.
No shit. Wow. Didn't know that's why those were there.
Yep.
Cool
it was all
information.
yeah. And that
At
was
least
because
government has never screwed anything else up again.
Right. But yeah, it's a lot of people will tell you the decline started with so many of the regulations the government put on these car companies. And furthermore, it got into the point where the cars did have their problems. They had reliability issues in the 70s, all the strikes. General Motors had all these strikes. So the people were overworked. They weren't getting paid what they wanted. So they were, shoving Pepsi cans inside the doors. They were leaving bolts undone. In the factory when the car was going on the factory line, and that's when the Japanese came in. Man, the 70s is known to where the Japanese and especially the 80s came in. Toyota, Honda, and a lot of Americans said, "To hell with the American cars. We're done with them. We can't. They're unreliable pieces of shit." And they went to Honda and Toyota and all these other Japanese car companies. And a lot of these people have never looked back. They've never purchased another American car from the 80s or 70s, the last time they owned one. And that's what happened. That caused that part of it, too.
Wow.
I'm definitely a huge proponent of, like, buying U.S. and having shit made in the U.S. and all that stuff. But goddamn, the American car companies need to step their fucking game up. Like, dude, the warranties they offer are garbage. Their fucking service, like the customer service is fucking garbage. Like,
Right.
dude, why can I buy a fucking Kia for a fraction of what it costs for an American car and get that motherfucker warranted bumper to bumper for 100,000 miles?
Yeah.
Right.
The last car that I bought that was American made was that Camaro. Since then, I've had a Scion, a Corolla, 2 Civics, and 2 RAV4s. So, I mean, I haven't had an American car in almost 15 years. 80,000 miles. Everything just started falling apart on it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're yeah, that's why, I mean, that's why there's people that will never go back to America. Like I was saying, they won't go back to American cars. They're happy with the Honda, Toyota, and all them. They do last long.
Yeah, for sure. I had Hyundais kind of forever, and then switched to a Jeep. Spent fucking literally twice as much on this Jeep, and I don't know, man. The only thing good I could say about it is that I hit this fucking curb doing like 60, and all it did was turn my tire into an egg. Other than that, the thing held up great. But a bunch of little shit that just went wrong. I had zero problems with all these motherfucking Hyundais with just as much technology. That being said, like, I know if I hit that same curb doing 60, I'd probably be dead because that thing would have just exploded. So, it was built like a brick shit house, but everything else on it fucking sucked. Plus, I'm just salty because I hate my salesman that I had for it. He was just a fucking asshole, so I regret buying it. So I think that kind of always soured my taste with that car.
Well, and that's the thing is that, like, you were going into that, and these guys don't know you, but they're like, oh, yeah, this kid's not going to buy this car.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that kid was a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah.
Fat loser. If you're listening, fuck you.
You need to shut the fuck up.
All right, Buddha. You like your theme music?
That's good. Is that made specifically for me?
I don't know. I just found some epic medieval music, so.
Did you just type in epic medieval music?
I did. I was like medieval battle music.
Nice.
I can kind of see Buddha riding up on a horse with a sword.
No, I'm thinking more of a dragon.
Oh, yeah.
Buddha could be riding a girl horse and it'd just be dangling down. We all know what I'm talking about.
Anyway. All right, so this is a bit of an older story. Let's see. So in April of 1922, there was a 2-year-old girl named Pauline Picard, and she was playing on her family farm, and I don't know how to pronounce this because it's French, of Goa-al-Ladue, Brittany, France. And she was playing on her farm. What?
Oops, sorry.
God damn it, John.
I hit the
fucked
wrong
up the
key.
flow already. So she was playing on her family farm and when she disappeared. So
Right.
Oh, motherfucker. Hang on. Sorry, it just closed my page too. What the fuck? Okay.
Ooh.
So of course, like, Pauline's parents are frantic and they're freaking out and they're like calling for her, looking for her. They can't find anything. So they go to the local police and police like set up a search for her. And there's like a bunch of the people that lived around there that volunteered as well. And the search went on for a little while, but they never found like any trace of her or, just anything. So like at that part, you start to get, a bit downtrodden, pretty much start to lose hope. And so a few weeks go by and news had come out and broke that a girl matching Pauline's description was seen in Cherbourg, which is just another city, just not near this. It's like a couple 100 miles away. So it says a local police officer found the girl and ended up placing her in a hospice for caretaking. And the police then go to the mother and show her a photograph of this girl that they just found. And the mom just kind of freaks out. She starts crying and she's like, yeah, like that's my daughter. That's Pauline. And so the next thing they do is they jump on a train to go to Cherbourg, and I'm probably saying that wrong, and just to go pick up their daughter. So after being with her for a couple hours, they kind of noticed that, like, even though she was the spitting image of their daughter, the little girl didn't really seem to recognize the parents and didn't, like, her behavior was just kind of odd. So they just kind of chalked it up to like, hey, this little girl has gone through some trauma. She's not all there at the moment. So, they end up taking her home. They get her back on the train, take her back to the family farm. And they're just kind of hoping that, like, once they get back in, like, the normal routine, that her memories are going to come back and she'll start acting, she'll kind of snap out of it. So it says once they got her home, her siblings, like the other children, immediately recognized her, and the neighbors, same thing. Like the neighbors recognized her, they knew it was Pauline, and even the local police was just like, okay, case closed. We found this girl. She's reunited with her family. Everything's good. So everyone was pretty much just kind of overwhelmed with relief. Like, hey, we found her. She's been missing for a couple weeks, and nobody really questioned like how she ended up in Cherbourg and in the first place, and like how she ended up, traveling 200 miles in just a couple weeks. And this is just a 2-year-old girl. So the reunion between the Picards and their daughter, it says, did not go entirely according to plan. And pretty much from the beginning, like Pauline was very fearful. She was just kind of shy around the family. And like it says, she didn't converse in her native dialect. And once again, her parents just kind of, chalk this up to just same thing, trauma, that she's still just going through something. And they kind of just ignored it for a couple weeks. So they then reported that, later on, Pauline did eventually start to kind of act like, close, more like she began to act more like herself. And, her memories are coming back and she's kind of starting to remember her way around the farm. And it just says, the more time the family spent together, the more the Picards ended up really kind of being unsure if this really was their daughter. So keep in mind, April is when the girl went missing. So on May 27th, and this is a news outlet, La Petite Parisienne, I guess. I don't know. I'm not French. It says they reported that a cyclist had found the body of a little girl about 800 meters from the Picard farm. The body was badly decomposed, and the hands, feet, and head were missing.
Ooh.
Next to the body, they found neatly folded clothes, in which Pauline's mother indicated that those actually were the same clothes that Pauline had on when she disappeared. So the body was in a place that the investigators claimed that they had searched multiple times while they were looking for Pauline, because it was only 800 meters from the farm. Let's see. So, and then the other townspeople also basically claim that, hey, we checked that spot. We've been through especially over the coming weeks, like we've been past that spot multiple times and never saw a body. So then everyone speculated that, that little girl's body had to have been placed there recently, and just in order for whether they were just dropping it or if they intentionally placed it there for somebody to find. So it says the same article reported that a local farmer by the name of Yves Martin, who had gone raving mad, asked the Picards if this is prior to them finding her, asked the Picards if they had actually found Pauline. They said they had. And then Yves asked if they were sure it was her. He made a comment that he was guilty, and then he just left. So also May 27th, LeMatin reported that investigators had found a head near the body, but it ended up being determined that the head that was found near the child's body was actually too large to have belonged to the body. So at that point, they find a body of a little girl 800 meters from their farm. Packed next to it, or neatly folded, is the same clothes that their daughter had on at the time she went missing. But now they have living with them, and has been for the last couple weeks, is a little girl that looks exactly like Pauline but didn't act like Pauline. So nearly a kilometer away from the farm, a cyclist found the body of a little girl with Pauline's clothing nearby, which we obviously talked about. The most identifying parts of the body being the hands, feet, and head were all missing. So of course, no facial recognition, they didn't have dental impressions in the 20s, but and I don't know, did they even do fingerprints in the 20s? I don't
believe
think that
so.
happened. Did they? Okay,
They did
well, regardless, they didn't have any of that shit. They had no hands, no feet, no head. It was all missing from the body. And it says the parts that the animals would mostly attack were still intact, meaning like the small fleshy spots. And then the strange skull being found near the body, which was not hers. So a child's body and a random skull that don't match. And then obviously the farmer that stated he was guilty but never said what he was guilty of, even though he had just asked if they ever found their little girl, and then he just walks off. Fucking weird. But so then it kind of goes on to say, there's still a bunch of questions, whereas like many of the townsfolk believe that Pauline was still alive somewhere. And assuming this is true, like who is the little girl that, wandered into this other city 200 miles away? Why didn't her real parents claim her if she's not, in fact, actually Pauline? And then how could the Picard family and neighbors identify the girl as Pauline, other than just having a small child's body and clothes? And then the one that's living with them, like they just said, hey, this looks like her. So it's just kind of like a lot of shit thrown out there. And even if you take that, like take all of that aside, like whose was the skull that they found? And it's just kind of, at this point, it says the Picards spent the rest of their lives kind of wondering what ultimately happened to their daughter. And in June, the little girl found in Cherbourg sadly went to an orphanage and spent the rest of her life in anonymity. I can't say the word. Anonymity. There, that's what it was. So pretty much they kind of said like, wait, this isn't our kid, but then they still let her live there. But then they said it is our kid because it looks like her, and then they sent her off to an orphanage. So this being an older story, like it obviously has a lot of holes in the story, but it kind of makes it, I don't know, it's just kind of like a weird, it's like a weird fucking story, because there's other instances of stuff like this happening where, a kid goes missing and then there's another child or even like an adult that resembles that person. And then the family of the missing sees that person and says, hey, you're so-and-so. They bring them on to live with them and ignore all the odd mannerisms that weren't there before. And then it turns out that person was just lying, and it never was them in the first place. Like there's multiple stories of that. But it's just kind of, I don't know, it's just kind of a fucked up story, because like what if that dude, the Yves dude, literally killed this 2-year-old girl, fucking dismembered her, and was just kind of like, are you sure that that's your kid? Like, I don't know. There's a lot of crazy shit going on with this story.
Yeah, that's fucking nuts. I I mean, I could see why the parents would obviously hold on to any sort of hope that it was actually their daughter.
But it's like, how do you react to finding a body that's substantially closer to where you live? 800 meters. That's
denial.
Yeah.
Not just river in Egypt.
But then it's like, okay, so you found the body, but there's nothing to identify. Okay. Well, now you found the clothes that she was wearing. Like,
for sure. Yeah.
That, I mean, man.
What's the coincidence though that all this happens and then this other girl shows up who virtually looks almost exactly like their missing daughter?
I mean, how does a 2-year-old?
Yeah, I'm surprised that news spread.
Let's see. Well, I mean, it was the 20s, so
my 18-month-old was pretty fucking fast.
But this also is kind of like, if you take it,
I guess that is true. I forgot the fact that.
Go ahead, Dan.
I'm sorry. I forgot the fact that she was that young. I was thinking, for some reason, I was thinking she was like 4 or 5 years old. So I mean, babies could have looked. There could be a similarity, I guess, in the looks when they're that young.
Yeah,
but
to
still,
be honest, man, they all look the fucking same to me.
Yeah.
Babies are babies,
right?
But I mean, this also, assuming that the kid that was murdered, let's just say it wasn't their daughter, then this case kind of ends up being like a lot of the missing 411 stuff where I've talked about, where a toddler or an infant or what, I don't actually know what those age ranges are. I just know they're fucking small. Like, that wouldn't normally be equipped to handle any type of substantial travel on their own. They wind up 300, 400, 500, 600 miles away and they're totally unharmed, but it's like, how the fuck did they get there? How is that possible?
Right.
This could be like another instance of one of those cases, especially like in the 20s, like you said, it's shocking that news, that news traveled as far as it did. Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of fucking wild.
Did you guys hear, piggybacking on that story, little different but kind of similar, there was IVF where 2 couples swapped babies.
I saw that already.
Holy shit. Yeah. I guess they're suing, which obviously you would. But like, what? Holy shit. Yeah, these couples did IVF and they implanted the wrong shit and just raised different babies for how long was it? Do you know? It's a couple months, right? Like 4 months or something.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
It's a lawsuit there.
Oh, isn't that fucked up? And then, like, what do you do? Just, like, give that baby... I mean, that's what... I think they swapped back or something. But,
if it was, like, a month or two, then, like, okay, I get it. But if you get into years, like, you raised that baby. That is now your baby.
Pretty confident it was a couple months, which is still... I mean, like, even for that baby, like, to fucking see another mom or, another woman and just probably scream all night for its mom, who it's known for how many months, I don't know. That'd be
dude,
weird.
I mean, how many fucking different women has your kid met that it was like, I don't want no part of that?
Yeah,
unless he's a ladies' man. All right, so it says, last name. The Cardinellis reportedly tried to conceive for 3 years before their second child was born in September of 2019.
Before their first child died on an ATV because he's a piece of shit.
We're not going there. That does not pertain to the story.
We went there.
Oh yeah. So the second child.
Didn't he live in your old house?
Yes. I think they still do.
Was that
104th?
Okay, all right.
It was Greenview and 104th.
Greenview, that was it.
Wait, who lived there?
Mike Cardinelli. Do you remember him?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you remember him?
Anyway, so it says their second child was born in September 2019 after 2 costly rounds of IVF. blah, 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 blah. Fixation on the infant's appearance apparently sowed tension between the couple, and they eventually agreed to a DNA test in November of 2019.
Shit.
The lab called the results strange because they did not match either of the parents. So it turns out that their biological child had been born a week before their daughter to another couple who went unnamed in the lawsuit. So this kid was born in 2019, and it is now 2021. So this, moving on, it says the two families first decided to meet and then decided to switch babies for short visits, which eventually became too difficult, leading to a permanent exchange in January of 2020. So born in September, found out in November, switched in January. So 3 months. Which is, I mean, fuck, that's still got to be weird, man. Like, I almost feel like, I don't know, I'm antisocial as fuck. And, like, I have made enough friends in my life that I'm good if I don't make any more. Like, it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not actively trying to make
Keep up that
new
attitude,
friends.
won't be a problem, motherfucker.
I think he's fine with that.
Yes, I am. But I'm kind of making the point,
He
like,
looks
I
fucking
feel like
stupid.
So this is like one of those weird instances where, like, yeah, okay, I guess you could call it traumatic. It's clearly a fuck up. What do you stand, like, what are you trying to gain
From
by
suing them?
suing?
Yeah,
Now,
nothing.
let me finish. I do think, fuck, man, it's not to go into any personal shit, but I feel the amount of money that you are paying for IVF, yes, would expect fucking perfection. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, the only gray area for me would be that I don't know how that kid, who is technically your kid, was treated during the pregnancy, because you don't know that person's lifestyle.
That's what I told Vanessa. I was like, dude, if you guys both care for the baby the same way, like, who knows, one of these mothers might have been fucking drinking, smoking, just not paying attention to the kid at all, like
Smoking weed, drinking beers.
But see, here's the thing.
No, I get it. Yeah.
But here's why I say that that's probably not the case. On average, IVF costs about $15,000. You're not spending $15,000 to have a kid, and then you're gonna smoke and drink while you're pregnant.
I don't know.
And,
There's some rich pieces of shit out there.
Okay, yeah,
That's true.
Playing devil's advocate, yes, but I would just like to say, realistically, that's probably not the case. Especially if you're both going through it at the same time and you're both involved in the whole process. Like,
You could both be pieces of shit, though.
you absolutely could, absolutely.
No, I'm just fucking around. Yeah, no,
But-
I 100% thought the exact same thing yesterday. I was like, chances are that they both treated everything like as good as they could, took all their vitamins and bullshit.
Well, I mean, it's for them. It's probably like the only one of the very few options they have left. So they're not going to just
I was going to say
squander
that.
it.
That's what I was going to say
So,
too. Yep.
With that instance, I'm kind of like, well, what the fuck are you going to get out of suing? Now you're just kind of being a piece of shit. Like,
I would at least get. I could see why or where they should at least get their fucking money back for the IVF. Like, that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, but then, yes.
Well, we live in
because
a sue happy. Go ahead.
I don't think they should get a fucking $1 million or something, but I think they should get
Yeah.
their $15,000 or whatever it is.
Here's
Like, y'all
the
fucked
thing,
up.
though. Like, when it comes to IVF, I think that it's a beautiful thing because it allows people that can't have kids to be able and have the option to have kids. I wholeheartedly agree that it's an amazing thing. But I also think that the hospitals are preying on the desperation of people that, God damn it, Dan, if you don't stop moving that fucking mic, I'm trying to have a conversation here.
Sorry.
I think that, like, it's fuck, what was I saying?
You're saying the hospitals prey on
yeah,
the
the
desperation of
hospitals are
people.
absolutely preying on the desperation of people that have no other option. And I think that's a terrible fucking thing. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to that almighty fucking dollar. With that being said, I can get behind saying you know what, you guys fucked up. You should be compensated in some way, maybe not completely, because at the end of the day, if you both got happy, healthy children out of it, yeah, it's really fucked up, and I'm sure it's gonna mess you up emotionally. Throw them a fucking bone. But at the end of the day, like, you now have someone that you went through this traumatic fucking situation with. Call it traumatic, call it whatever you want. Everyone's gonna respond differently, but it's one of those things where, like, maybe you just made a solid fucking friend and someone that can understand what you're going through now.
Yeah.
Because you went through it together. And I know that they said it got difficult, so maybe it's not something you can talk about, but at the same time, maybe it's not something you can talk about right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was going to ask, and I don't know if you guys know this, but how far apart were these children born?
A week prior.
Okay, so this must have been like the process or the procedure to implant the embryo, I guess. Am I right here?
Yeah, you're right.
It must have been, the switcheroo must have happened like, same day, and then these kids were born, you said, a week apart?
I thought that was what it said.
Man.
The biological child had been born a week before.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody just pulled the wrong one, or you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure it can be an easily done human mistake, but yeah, I to sue somebody for millions of dollars, I mean,
and
like I said, I'm with you. It's like, look on the bright side of things. Look on the bright side of things. Is it terrible? Yeah, but at the same time, like, nobody's dead. Everybody's healthy.
They both got lucky that both of them actually took.
Yeah, it would be one of those things where, like, if they were switched and the one that had yours was just complete negligence, piece of shit, like, just did nothing, which I said, I don't really think that that's going to happen if you're getting IVF, because it's a hell of an investment. But had that happened, I could see where it's like, man, you had one fucking job. All you needed to do was put the correct name on the fucking chart, or however it got mixed up, and you fucked that up. But then you could also go down that whole fucking rabbit hole and be like, man, every fucking hospital on the planet is short-staffed and overworked, and that has always been the case. I don't know.
There's a form. You talked about suing. I had to just interrupt here, but first off, we live in a sue-happy country and world. Everyone sues for everything that they possibly can,
and that's part of the reason why medical practice is so costly.
Right. That's a form of medical malpractice in this story, really, and there's pain and suffering. They're gonna, if nothing else, they can sue for pain and suffering, a form of it. It might not be called quite that, but a certain form. I'm not a lawyer, obviously, but trust me, they'll sue and they'll probably get. I'm not saying they're gonna, and I don't agree. I agree with you, because I don't think they deserve $50 million or any stupid shit like that. But again, we live in this society where lawyers are constantly, jumping down people's throat to get sue. I'll see all the commercials all the time for, again, medical malpractice and things like that. But these kids only, and I would look at it this way, like the kids were what, four months old approximately when this was discovered?
They had them for 3 months.
Okay, they were
3 months. Okay,
2 months old when it was discovered.
So
they were born in September, switched back in January.
Right. So taking the what you guys had mentioned, in my opinion of it, would be, the best part of it is, like you said, everybody's healthy, the kids are healthy. You hope, like Buddha said, that they were taken care of. People made that big investment. But the bigger thing is that these kids were only 3 months old, approximately. So it's not like it's traumatic to the kids, because, I mean, I don't have any kids. I don't know. I mean, Rob, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but being
that
only at 3 months old.
You have to have sex to have kids.
Very good.
I've had it at least once.
But what I'm trying to say is basically that, the kids, they're so young, they're babies, infants. They're not going to. The good thing is they're not going to be traumatized in this because they're so young. They're not going to know the difference between one woman to another woman that was taking care of them. They're not going to remember any of this stuff. Is what I'm trying to say, which is the good part of the story.
It's going to be a miserable couple fucking weeks for the new moms though, like getting that baby used to the new mom.
And there goes the pain and
Slapping
suffering portion of it.
Yeah, even that seriously, like, Titty, what clip was that from?
That was Dave
Titty
Chappelle.
residue.
Titty residue.
Oh. What was that movie? Where was it? The Hand That
Look
Rocks
Who's
the
Talking.
Cradle. Where
Baby's Day Out.
I don't know what that is.
Baby's Day Out. There's like a movie where like a woman, like the baby's not interested in feeding from one woman because another woman tricked the baby into like feeding off of her. I don't know. I was listening to old O&A tape today. They were talking about this movie. I forget what it was.
Well, the plot of that
No
says
idea.
it follows the pregnant wife of a Seattle obstetrician who kills himself after he is accused of sexual misconduct by his patients. That doesn't sound like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I feel like being me, once that kid got older, I'd be like, you want to go back with your fake parent? Fucking asshole. I'll send your ass right back. Trade back.
One of those kids is gonna grow up to be a fucking asshole, and the other one's probably gonna be all right, and one of those parents is gonna really regret switching.
I saw something where that happened, and I think it was like an Asian family, and the dude was super pissed because, like, this was many years later. I think he was either like a teen or an adult, like full on, where he found out that his actual birth family, like his biological family, was like very affluent, and the one that he got like mixed up with, no, it wasn't that, it was adoption. That's what it was. There was two brothers that got adopted. One went to like a super rich family, and then one went to like a not so rich family. And this dude kind of came out and was like, what the fuck? Like, blah, 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 just like trashing it. It's like, meanwhile, it's like, you fucking piece of shit. Your fucking parents might have had a heart of fucking gold, even though they were poor, and you're over there just wanting that fucking money.
Just to confirm, that is the movie.
Really?
What was the name of it again?
The Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
Okay.
Basically, what happens is this woman gives birth to a baby, and it's a psychological thriller or whatnot, but they hire a nanny, and the nanny starts feeding the child in secret, causing the child to stop taking the mother's milk. So, I mean, I guess I didn't
Based
know
off
that.
a true story?
No.
What does that pique your interest, Dan?
No, it doesn't fucking pique my interest. It just sounds like something that was based off a true story.
Dan's going on YouTube tonight. No, but I didn't realize that could be a thing.
Yeah.
What, just not feeding?
Well, no, like if you were to swap somebody out, like a child would reject
The other
after
titty.
a while. Yes, what Rob said.
They should have just called that movie The Other Titty.
I mean, there's like fucking babies in general, dude. Sometimes they just will not feed off the mom. They just reject. So, I mean, I could definitely see that being like, I don't like these titties.
All right, well.
I feel you, son. Yeah.
All right, moving on. So, one of the things I wanted to talk about real quick tonight, and we try not go too much longer because Buddha's got to get up early in the morning. Have you
blame
guys?
it on me.
Yeah,
The old man.
yeah. Have you guys seen the article, whatnot, on the credit card that has a carbon credit limit?
No.
So there's talks of credit card companies starting to, and I think one was called, hold on a second. It was called Do Black Credit Card. It's a credit card with a carbon limit. Basically what it does is once your purchases basically have a carbon value to them, and that once you've reached your carbon limit for the day, you will not be able to spend any more money.
For the day?
Yeah.
Like, is there like a lifetime limit?
No, I think it's a daily, yearly, monthly kind of thing. But what happens is, like, let's say you get, a tank of gas, and that uses 90% of your carbon limit, right? And then you go and buy a hamburger, and because cows rip farts, then that uses the other 10%. And then you want to go and buy something for dinner on the way home. You can't because you've exceeded your carbon limit for the day, and the card is now shut off. But in order to combat climate change, and I just wanted to get your guys' take on something like this.
That is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever fucking heard.
I think
that is
so
my
fucking
take. Stupid.
I know.
Holy
That's
shit.
just I wanted
It's
to
just
start
a way to
this.
control
This is the
your
stuff that
fucking
they'll
money.
call you.
Go ahead.
It sounds like a joke.
This is the way they'll call you conspiracy theorist, and you're like, one day they're gonna track you and shut down your money. Like it's all part of the cashless society, social credit score. Yeah, it's the same fucking. You know who's implementing this? The same motherfuckers who flew to the climate conference on a goddamn private jet to tell you that you should stop fucking driving to work and you should share a ride with a buddy.
And stop eating hamburger
eating hamburgers
while there's steaks on the menu.
100%. These fucking pieces of shit. I'm all for like saving the planet, man.
Yeah.
Like I recycle. I literally I do what I can. We're all human. We make fucking waste. It is what it is. But holy shit, yeah, the people always spouting this nonsense are just fucking losers.
It's
Fuck
crazy.
that company.
So another crazy story that was kind of similar to this, and we'll kind of tie this again. I have a relative that bought a washing machine recently, and they kept saying, like, my whites are not getting cleaned like bright enough, and so you'd run them in hot water and bleach. Well, I guess within like the last, 10, 15 years or something, there was mandates put out by the government that said you can only use X number of hot, like the temperature can only get this hot for energy efficiency and consumption. So, and I noticed this like when I was running cold laundry, that there was still hot water being used. And I guess because inside the machine, there's a sensor that can gauge the temperature of the water, and that the machine has built in a recommended temperature setting for hot and cold laundry loads. And but again, another carbon, or not a carbon footprint, but just another energy limit that is, you don't have the ability to choose how hot you want your water to be in your washing machine anymore. And that's freaking crazy to me.
That's fucking nuts.
Well, even for a long time, dude, even in like any of your shower heads and stuff like that you buy, they're fitted with, it's like a screen, but it's meant to control the flow because they want it to be efficient. Which, like, you're literally telling me how much fucking water I can use in the fucking shower. And I understand the concept of it, but I don't think the problem is the volume. You know what I mean? Like, it's just retarded, because then if I need to get wetter, I'm just going to wait in there fucking longer.
Right.
Like the whole, it's such a fucking ploy. Like, even the stupid shit that they're passing in that fucking infrastructure bill, like the mandating, like, so basically Biden came out and said, all you new car makers need to figure out a way to, with some type of tech, to put something in to stop drunk driving in your cars. What the fuck does that mean? Like, I don't know. I'm not telling people to go out and get hammered and fucking drive, but at the same time, like, you can have a fucking beer and drive home. You know what I mean? So,
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, right here, it says, not to cut you off, Buddha, but I was on Consumer Reports. Even though they use less water, newer washers are much better at cleaning the top loaders with a center agitator made 15 years or more ago. Manufacturers have been lowering wash temperatures over the years to meet the Department of Energy's tough energy standards for hot water use. So it's right there. Like, you can't choose how hot you want to wash your clothes in. You can't choose. Like, what happens if you're not drunk and that car is supposed to take over for you? Like, you know what I mean?
There's only one. I say the only way you can do it is if you buy yourself an old washer, one that's, so a washer from the 80s or 90s where it doesn't have that technology on it.
Yeah. I mean, shit.
Just loud as fuck, keeping the whole family awake.
Yeah.
Yay. Right.
Yeah, it says
that's why I said technology goes up and... Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, man.
No, you're good. Go for it.
I was just saying technology has its... I've always said it. Technology has its ups and downs. I mean, we love technology, and I love technology just like the next person, but we're getting to the point where, like, things like this, like the washing machine, for example. An old-fashioned washing machine, you could have the water scalding hot. You could do whatever you want. You didn't have to worry about it. Now you have sensors, like you said, telling you how hot the water is going to be. Cars, I've talked about the technology in cars getting outrageous to the point now. Do we need all this technology? We don't, and it's making people. I think it's at some points making people's lives miserable, and they don't even realize it's making their lives miserable with too much technology.
What we need is to not have a fucking nanny state that thinks you're not capable of wiping your own ass without being told how to and when to do it. That's what we fucking do.
I agree.
Maybe don't shit yourself at the Vatican. You won't have to wipe your own ass.
Yeah. My question is, okay, so this carbon issue, is it really an issue? And because you have people on both sides of the fence saying that it's an issue or it's not an issue. But there's also been, reports on or studies that have said that, like, the Earth just goes through heating and cooling phases, and it's going to happen whether we try to prevent it or not. So, how much of this is done because of humans?
Well, I think I'm not trying to stray, but it's not quite in response to what you're saying. I think it's everything looks good at face value when it comes to, like, any type of climate awareness, climate change, or even like just like essentially trying to reuse stuff, like just with recycling in general. Like, have you ever watched any of, like, the documentaries on what actually happens with the recycling in a majority of the places in the US? Like, either it just goes to the landfill, or for whatever fucking reason, it's cheaper for them to put it on a fucking container ship, ship it overseas to, like, Asia, and they'll use, like, some of it, and then the rest of it gets thrown in a fucking pile and burned. And then they, like, burn all the plastics for something else. But the point is, yeah, it might not be here, but you're killing the fucking ecosystems over there because they're literally burning all this plastic and chemicals and basically garbage. Then it, like, without having any type of infrastructure over there to even really handle anything like that, all of that runoff gets into, like, the streams and shit, and it kills all the fucking plant life and wildlife. Dude, it's fucking terrible. Yeah, and I mean, dude, why even bother fucking recycling if that's what you're gonna fucking do? Right. Why do we have to have plastics? Why can't we go back to glass where you can actually recycle it? Because it's too fucking expensive.
So while we're on that topic, so I was at a house the other day talking to the other realtor there, and we were just talking about older homes, how they're more solid, and she was talking about copper piping and how she sold a home to a doctor, and he was adamant that he had to have a home with copper piping. He said, like, your body needs that copper, and he said, like, the plastic pipes, like, stuff breaks down in them, and, like, that's what you're drinking, and got me thinking, like, I wonder, because obviously your body has a bunch of metals in it. I wonder
Buddhist
if we are missing something
high.
from Is it just loudness particles all over? That type
Those
of metal.
sound waves?
Yeah. But because I've heard that with plastic bottles, like your regular water bottles, like there's just chemicals in there, and certain particles break down and get into your bloodstream and all kinds of shit. So I was wondering if it was the same thing with plastic pipes in houses, and I wonder if there's something to be said that copper is better for you, not only because it contains a little bit of the metal that your body needs, but also that it's probably not giving you cancer if some of these plastic ones are fucking you up.
Just tell them to quit being a wimp and eat a couple of pennies.
That's true. Yeah,
So
that's a good point. Got to be the old ones though.
Yeah, right.
Made of real copper.
One of the big things with like PEX piping is what you just talked about. So they've been using PEX pretty much since like the 80s, but it wasn't approved everywhere. And the older stuff they found would leach, pretty much like what you're talking about. And it took forever to get approved in California, just because that's literally like what it is. You know, like California's always like the tightest fucking restrictions, even though it's a shithole. So then they have like these different kinds of PEX that are out now, which allegedly it's like anything that you ever find where it's like, this amount is safe because so-and-so gave us enough money that we got this amount to here, and I can deem that it's safe. Kind of like with the FDA. It's like, it's safe until it's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with that being said, so what they used to do with the copper pipe, like back in the day, is when they would sweat everything, they used leaded solder. So yeah, the copper was cool, but you're actually getting lead from the solder. And you know, many years ago, they came out with lead-free solder, and you can use like silver solder and shit like that. But then you can get into, well, you're actually leaching chemicals from the flux. Like, so like, where do you draw the line? You know, like,
That's true. Yeah.
it's
Good point.
And then even to go the next step further, dude, like, you're not supposed to drink out of the hot side of the tap because you're more apt to get like the sediment and the rust from the hot water tank. Well, how many fucking people take the hot water, fill up their fucking kettle, you know, and then boil it? Like, that doesn't get rid of any of that shit. It just kills bacteria.
Right. Don't forget the foods too. I mean, you know, I was reading, there's a study. I mean, more and more people under the age of 40 are dying of colon cancer. Way more than in the years and decades past, where it was mostly older people, you know, in their 60s and 70s that were getting colon cancer and dying from it. And they're saying more and more young people are getting it, and they don't know they don't really know the causes yet of it, but a lot of them think it has a lot to do with the foods that we eat, you know, and the containers that you eat your food out of and that it's stored in and things like that. That made me think of it, not to jump off the subject too much, but the materials, the containers, the plastics and stuff, that stuff, if it sits long enough, that gets into the food supply, and they wonder a lot of that might have to do with what's causing so many young people to start getting colon. They want you to get checked now in your 30s, like mid to late 30s, 40s now for colon cancer.
Yeah, that's why I've been looking at all these dudes' butts lately, just trying to hook them up.
Yeah, I get my colon
bro.
checked. I always get my colon checked before I go to the doctor.
All right. Well, in that case, we're gonna shut her down for tonight.
Who here has had a colonoscopy? Buddha, I know you have.
Yeah, I had one.
I have.
I have not.
I have not yet.
I want to just shit in that box and send that box out. I don't want no one sticking their hand up my ass.
Why
They're
would-
not doing.
you
They're
know
not
that-
checking your shit, Damon. Jesus.
Yeah, you're not a cat.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, the one with the
No.
litter in it.
Well,
What?
Well, the colonoscopy doesn't fucking just dig in your asshole to get shit.
Yeah.
Because you could just poop in a box
No.
and give it to him then.
Yeah, but no, they say for people with low risk, they don't have like in the family and stuff like that. You just what is that called? I can't think of the name of it, but you poop in the box and you send it out, and then they do a test on it to see
the old
if
fecal
there's a
sample.
What, did you
Yeah.
find this fucking ad on Craigslist?
no. They advertise
Send
it on
me your
fucking TV
boxes,
all
people.
the time.
We'll pay for poop.
Yeah. Is poop in the box as good as a colonoscopy? No, he's not. He's not shitting you. The stool test is cheaper, less invasive. Experts say when it comes to colon cancer screening, the annual stool test may be as effective as a colonoscopy for people who don't have risk factors.
Yeah, but you're not just checking. You're still looking for polyps and shit that's actually in your colon. It's not. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I just want a colonoscopy.
Dan, you should come over. Let me check it out.
All right, that's a deal. It's Cologuard. That was the one I'm thinking of.
$600.
Sounds like a toothpaste.
Your primary care physician orders the test, and the kit is shipped to your home. You collect a stool sample and mail it into a lab.
God, that sounds awful.
I always thought about
doing that for my dog makes me sick. I can't even imagine. I always thought about shit.
The poor UPS or FedEx driver. They're picking up a box, and little they know there's shit inside of it.
Well.
Oh yeah.
Or the guy that has to make the delivery to the lab. He's just got boxes of shit on his truck, just so many of them, and he knows what's in it. You know,
literally boxes of shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Shit box. Well, all right. Well, on that note, we're gonna close her down for tonight. Oh man.
No more butthole stories?
Nah, not tonight.
No more dick stories either.
Yeah. We rounded it out nice and started off with the plant, ended up with the shit in the box. So
there we go. From dicks to buttholes, we got you covered.
All educational.
It is.
Yep. You know, it's the show is definitely taking a turn for a direction that we weren't anticipating going in.
We all end up at dicks. No matter where you start, it comes back. Dicks.
I'm thinking about this, and I was looking while you guys were talking, potentially having a someone that works like for a funeral home, like a bunch of. A story coming up here. I was thinking about doing was like weird funeral rituals. It'd be interesting. Maybe we can get somebody on that's worked at a funeral home.
I was gonna say we need someone that doesn't currently work there because we need some fucked up stories.
Right.
Sure.
Well, all right. Well, for Daniel Rady, Steve Gibson, Rob Tagmarino, who am I forgetting? Alex Basinski, all of them. Bob Tobicash, Gary Nagel,
My dude Bean.
Yeah, Bean, of course. Patrick Barrett.
Is Taco ever coming on?
No, he's in bed.
He listens like the next day.
Yeah, he listens next day.
All right, Taco. We'll look at each other's buttholes soon. Just checking for colon cancer. I got
I'll get you with that carnival pencil of his.
I remember getting my colonoscopy. I was just laying on my side, and they were drugging me up. And she's like, "How you feel?" And I was like, "I feel glorious." And then that was it. And I was out. And then they had to look at my disgusting hairy ass. Like, these poor fucking women. It was like 3 or 4 women. Jeez, oh man.
Dude, when I got my colonoscopy, they gave me propanol, and evidently a common thing with that is like intense burning pain running through your veins. So I had that, and they didn't like warn me about that. So she's like, "How are you?" I was like, something's wrong. Like, something is definitely wrong. I was like, it burns everywhere. Like, it hurts. And she's like, "You're fine." And then I passed out.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
My favorite doctor story of yours is when it might have been like the first time you had to get your prostate checked, and they milked you.
Yeah.
They had the little fucking.
You know, we're still on, right?
Well, all right. Well, the world knows now. Fucking when Buddha was.
We'll touch this after when we get off here.
But it's so
Tune in
good.
next week.
We already talked as much as we could, or we already spilled as much as we could. You had to figure
Tune in next week.
Yeah. Now I gotta start the queue up again. All right, here we go. All right. Well,
everyone's gonna miss out on the best part, but that's all right. That's fine.
We're not gonna do it at his expense, though.
Leave it to the imagination.
We should.
Well, now I gotta let the bumper build up because otherwise it wouldn't be cool. So now, what do we just fill this time with?
Well, basically,
I'll tell you my story when I passed out.
Shut up, Dan.
Oh.
I'm more important right now.
Dan,
This is for public safety. Remember, kids, whether you want to shit in a box or get a colonoscopy, it's your choice.
Either way, do one of
Dan's
one
always
of the
gonna
two.
go with. You know, the one thing about Dan though is that he'll go
Cheapest option ever.
and what's ever going to inconvenience him the least. So if it's going to cost him extra money, he's going to go with a bowl of chili from Wendy's over a nice meal from Bamba.
Yeah, he's gonna eat that Wendy's chili, then take a shit in a box directly at the UPS store.
You know what? In fact, he'll just dump the chili in the box. I skip the eating portion. There you have it, folks.
you guys know me too well.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Well,
Wow.
from the mistake on the lake, somewhere out there, this is Type 3 TV. Buddha, you know what to do.
I got nothing. Check your prostates.
Good
kids.
night, Buddha.
Good night, Buddha.
Good night, Buddha.